This, we get it up here on the screen, we'll get started. My name is Don, N6JRL is my call sign. I've only been licensed for 60 years, so I was like 2 years old when I got my license. And last year, my wife and I were at SEDCO down at Pigeon Forge, and that's the Southeast DX Association conference. And a friend of mine came up and said, Don, are you up for a DXpedition? And I said, always. And he said, well, we got one coming up, and you know, it's been rearranged. They had to cancel on their first dates that they had for it because some of the people couldn't make it and the equipment didn't get there. So I got a hold of the team leaders, Rob Van Pant and Paul Ewing, and they called me up and we talked, and they said, send us a big check and you're on the team. So this was supposed to go in November of 2023. However, they shipped the gear out on July of 2023, and it didn't get there till November of 2023. So we went there in February of 2024. This is the small island. Can you hear me okay? This is the small island in the Temotu Island province. It is south of the Solomon Islands. And this island here is, let's see if I can get this to work. This island here is only 4.5 acres, the entire land of the island. If anybody has a question while I'm talking, raise your hand or throw something at me or yell, and we'll take the questions as we go. Let's see, I've got so many things here. Maybe it won't work this far. Doesn't both of them, neither one of them does it. You want to be my switch? Okay. Yeah, we'll get going here in a minute. I'm sure Tim have seen some of this and heard some of the stories, but this is not an official. This is each person is given license to kind of do their own. These are my observations and my photographs, and the stories are the same for all of us. I started out, go ahead, next slide, please. Everybody knows what this is. It's the big old restaurant that's in the middle of LAX airport. And at the bottom of it, right down in here, is the USO, the Bob Hope USO. Okay. Here I am at the Bob Hope USO. It's fairly new, very clean, very nice. You can go in there when you're in between flights. You want to do this for me? Not yet, not yet. Back one. Back one. Back, back. Back, 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 back. The other back. Okay. It's a very nice USO, one of the finest ones in the West. You can go in there and eat and drink and take a shower and clean up and store your luggage if you want to look around, all for nothing, if you're a veteran or a dependent of a veteran. And Mike, it is fabulous. Next slide, please. After going there from Cleveland, the next morning, I got on the flight, well, the next evening, we got on Fiji Airways here. It was an 11.5-hour flight to the island of Fiji. But it was very comfortable, very nice plane, very nice crew. We really had a good time, good food. We had 2 hot meals along the way, and anything you wanted to drink for free all the way over there. And we got there, and here we are with a nice rainbow. We thought that was a good omen. Oh, was that wrong? Next slide, please. Okay, we arrive at the Solomon Islands in Guadalcanal, and here we are at the King Solomon Hotel. And they welcomed you with a nice fresh coconut with a straw in it so you could have coconut water. And it was very hot there. Next slide. Okay, if you hit the button again, that should, you got it? No. Here's the
You come up then, open the door, you come out. Come out.
However, if anybody leaves a gate open along the way or anything, this thing shuts off. So Don and the doctor and Jay from Cincinnati, we're coming down to go to dinner one night, and the thing stops. We're much too high to jump out. There's no trees to climb down. So we had to get on the phone and call the lobby, and they got some maintenance guys up there. They didn't know what to do. So they finally found a big ladder, and they got this big ladder up, and we got into the, got out with the ladder. Next slide. Okay, now we had a couple of days before we went to the little island to set up for the DXpedition, and we got to go and see a lot of the museums and a lot of the monuments and stuff for the Marines and Navy and the Army and the Air Force from back in World War II in Guadalcanal. This was interesting to myself and Jay, K4ZLE, because we were both in the Marine Corps. Next slide. And here's one of the Guadalcanal monuments. There's quite a few of them around there. We had to travel. Travel is very slow in that city. Sometimes to go 12 miles, it'll take 2.5 hours because the roads are so bad. Next slide. Here's some of the planes that they pulled in out of the jungle that were shot down during the war back in 42, 43. And here is a monument to the 1st Marine Division. Yeah, I think I got another one here. Go ahead. Okay, who can tell me who that is right in the middle of the picture? Anybody? Nobody can tell me who that is? Pappy Boyington, the only Marine, the only military member ever to get the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously and live to tell about it. He was presumed shot down over the Sea of Japan, and at the end of the war, he was found in a prisoner of war camp, and his family had been given the Medal of Honor posthumously, but he made it. And you all know he went on to be a technical advisor for the TV show Baba Black Sheep. Okay, next. Okay, this is Jay, K4ZLE, and myself, standing next to the monument. This was near the airport. They also had a cemetery there with many people in the cemetery, many grave headstones. Okay, we're about ready to go to the little island now. Now, to get there from the Solomon Islands, you have to fly on this little twin-engine plane that holds about 14 people, and it's a 2+ hour flight to Lom Lom. Next slide. And here's where we were in the Solomon Islands, right here, the capital, Honiara. Now, we had to fly down here to Santa Cruz and fuel up, and then fly over to Lom Lom, which is right next to the little island where we were going to be, Pigeon Island. Next slide. Okay, here we are, and you can notice that they're hand pumping the fuel into the plane. We're really talking third world country here in the airport with a runway made out of weeds and grass, and it wasn't paved at all. And we flew in here, and we had to take 3 55-gallon drums and hand pump them all into the plane to get to the next little island where we were supposed to be. Here's the bathroom at the airport. Okay, this is there, you can see there's a commode back there and a commode back there with no tanks or seats on them or nothing, but it looks like it hasn't been used in a while. So we were just made, and Dr. Bruce said, "Don, what do you think the time difference is between here and the United States?" And I said, "Bruce, it's about 200 years." Next slide. This is the office, the terminal office. This is where they filled out all our tickets in pen. Next slide. And here's the baggage area. This is all of our baggage. This is Dr. Bruce back here, and this is one of our team leaders, Paul. And this is Jay sitting over here. Next slide. Okay, I know most of you were thinking this is what we were going through down there. This is what it's like to be down there on a nice island, and you know, nice radios, nice clean area, good place to live in, real beautiful dancing hula girls and everything. So that's probably what you're thinking, what we were going through. Well, we were not. Next slide. This is more like it here. Next slide, please. Okay, here's one of our other team leaders. This is Rob Van Fent. He's from Washington, and we're starting to set up in the Radio Shack. Now, if you take a good look at him with that hat on and everything, he actually gets stopped all the time because people think he's Al Roker from the Morning Today Show, the weatherman. And so we nicknamed him Al Roker. So. But you can see we have amplifiers and KX3s. We had 4 KX3s and amplifiers. These over here, these are all high-powered bandpass filters, so we wouldn't interfere. And they worked fairly well until they started burning up. Next slide. Okay, here I am trying to assemble a 6-meter beam. Every movement you make down there, I mean, we started to sweat immediately when we walked off the plane. It was like 97 degrees during the day, and at night when it got dark and the sea breeze came up, it got down to about 96 or 95, and the humidity stayed around 150%. At least that's what it seemed like, because all we did was sweat. I lost a total of 27 pounds. 27 pounds, which I could afford to lose. Next, okay, here, these are 2 of the young fellows from the next island, and what that is between them, that's a piece of a palm frond that they cut out and they dried it and they're twisting it, and then they tie it into a little circle and put it around their feet to climb the palm trees. Now in this next video, if it works, I think we got it working, Corey. Go ahead. Go ahead and start it. Okay, now you can see here.
What's the wind the wire so that this will be
it's very bright out there, and I was having a hard time focusing
it out. Okay, go.
Also, look, he's got an antenna on it. That's nice. And that's a 220 volt. He's taking up our antenna. Now look at the knife. He's holding on to that. He took that up there to cut off some of the palm fronds. So he put a pulley up there. He pulled up a little rope and pulled up the wire. This tray, he was up about 85 feet. And then he left the machete. Once he tied up the pulley, he forgot, and he came back down and left the machete. So nobody walked through that palm. And you never get in the shade of a palm tree. Coconuts can fall at any time.
I think it's good.
Okay, next slide. Okay, here we are putting together a 40-meter loop, and you can see that that black piece of extended stuff, courtesy of DX Engineering, of course. We had all kinds of support from DX Engineering, and we really appreciate it, Tim, and everything you've done for us and everyone else that goes on DXpeditions. Next. Okay, this here is Dr. Bruce. This was our doctor, and he's putting together a couple of VDAs. This is outside the front of the Radio Shack. Next one. Okay, here's one of the showers. Now, take a look real close. The bottom of it is stainless steel. Now, can anybody imagine how slippery that would be with soap on it? And then you can see the mold and everything. And the back of this curtain was, you can see right here through it, completely black. I mean, they don't clean this place up every time somebody comes to visit. And cold rainwater is all you have for showers. Speaking of water, when we did come in, I'm sure Rob probably told this story too to Tim and the people out of Visalia. We came in on an airplane, and there was it was election time. There were some politicians coming in on the plane to shake hands and meet the people and get votes. Well, they saw that we had all this fresh bottled water, and they said, well, we're politicians, we're taking that. And they took it, and that was it. We were out of water then. So we were reduced to rainwater, and I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. This is a life straw. You can come up and look at these later afterwards. It has a cover on it here, and you stick it down in rainwater or river water if you're out camping. You can buy these at Amazon or the place that sells all the camping stuff, Dick's Sporting Goods and Cabela's and stuff like that. And what you do, you stick it down in there and you suck through here, and it's supposed to remove all the bad stuff that's in the water, hopefully. Okay, he also boiled water while we were there and ran it through a Brita filter, and that kind of helped until we got some more bottled water on the island. That thing you're looking at right there, that's called a Garmin InReach, and you can't really tell by looking at that. It looks pretty big, but here it is right here. Now, I bought this just before I went, and you pair your phone up with this, and you go online and you activate it. No matter where you go in the world, this thing will give you texting through satellite. And there's a little rubber boot here that you can pull it up. It says SOS. You pull it up, press the little button inside, and it will sit there and send out an SOS with your coordinates wherever you are in the world, on the ocean, on an island, anywhere. And my wife and I use this to communicate on a daily basis because our star guide that we had for logging and everything, we couldn't use that while we were doing the DXpedition. But this is a very good investment. It's called a Garmin InReach 2 Mini. It sends it through the satellite to the closest place. It sends it worldwide. Yeah, it'll send it to the Coast Guard, and it'll send it to all kinds of places in the area that you're at by your coordinates that goes up. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's some more of the mass, but here's the palm tree over here that the wire was put up where the guy climbed the palm tree, and then it came over, I think, to this tree right here. Next. Okay, here is looking out of the shack. This is with the tide in. I'm reading a book right now about this island, and this is called, I think it's Morgan Bay, I think is what this is called. And this island over here is the island of Nandeli, which we have some stories about that too. But this is with the tide in, and then the next slide should show the tide out. You can walk across. One day, a dog walked across and spent the day with us from the other island. But the kids and the people walk across and back and forth and bringing food and fishing and everything else. So, you just wait a couple times a day, the tide goes out and you can walk to the next island. Also, they call that a flush, because guess where the water goes from the bathrooms? Yep. Okay, here we go, Tim. This was one of the first things that Rob and Paul wanted to do when we got in there. We put the sign up there. I had to kind of fix this here. It did say 2023 because this DXpedition was supposed to go in 2023, but I penciled it in here with 2024. But we got the ad up there and the stuff for DX engineering and all that, and you can see we got a whole lot of stuff hooking up here. Next slide. This is Jay. He made the very first contact to Australia. Next. Okay, take a look at this. This is a lot of our incoming coax cables. You can see they're all very nicely labeled, and they all went up through a window up here in the kitchen area and out to the various antennas that were spread over the entire island. And we had one that wasn't working. I think it was the 80 meter. And we had a meter on it and everything, and the SWR was just infinity, just no good at all. So I went out to look and see if I could find out what it was, and sometimes it's very obvious. Next slide. Of course, everybody knows what's supposed to be in between there, right? A barrel connector. Okay, this is the house that we lived in, and this was built by the owner's mother back in the 1950s, and it's still standing. It has no air conditioning, it has no heating, no insulation, just the bare bones. This is all palm fronds that are woven together for the roof and the sides. And that's where we slept. Here's my bunk right here. You can see I have a mosquito net completely around the enclosure there. And then you spray at night around for bugs, so the bugs don't crawl underneath it and come up and start eating you. And I had bug bites and mosquito bites all over me. This is right outside of that living quarters. This is his mother's grave. This is his father's grave. I'm reading a book about his mother and father right now. It's entitled Far Away, and it's all about how they settled this island back in the late 50s and raised their family. Our host, Ben Hepworth, that owns the island, they've got a 99-year lease on it. And he has lived his whole life there. He was born in New Zealand, but he's lived his whole life on this island. Here we go where we got some of the stuff set up. You can see we're running some FT8. This is Pigeon Power, Power and Light. This little building around here was put up with those boys that climbed the trees. They put this little shelter up because it rained constantly over there, and they put this shelter up for our generator in about an hour. And it stayed up the whole time we were on there. And this generator ran flawlessly. Of course, it was a brand new generator, and we gave it to him when we left for his generator power. Here we go. We got a bunch of people in here. We've got, this is Scott, and this is Dr. Bruce, and this is Jay, and everybody's on the air. Okay, here's part of the water system, the rain catch for the rainwater. As you can see, the barrel is kind of halfway in the ground, but take a look. I can't make this bigger, but this is a piece of PVC pipe coming off of the roof and the rain gutter of this building. And look at the filter, a towel with rocks holding it in there, all the leaves and the junk and everything. Of course, it doesn't keep everything out of the tank. You know, rainwater's not bad as long as you have something clean to collect it in, right? Here's a typical shower head. As you can see, it's all corroded. There's no pressure to it. It just kind of drips out. You know, we were allowed to use 30 seconds of water to get wet, and then lather up and soap up, and then another minute to run the water to rinse off. And that's your shower. Cold rainwater shower. And that lasted the whole time we were there. Here's a typical morning breakfast. We got some cereal, some corn flakes, and some powdered milk, and some lime juice from the local lime trees in the area. We never had, the whole month over there, we never had any brewed coffee, just instant coffee. And of course, he boiled the water and then filtered it, so. Okay, this is, finally we got some beer. I got with Ben Hepworth, and he had a friend coming over in a boat from another island. And I said, can you get us some beer? And he got us 2 cases of beer for 800 Somalian dollars. Now, you think that's a lot of money? It's about $12 per 100, so it's about 96 bucks for 2 cases. So that wasn't too bad. And we saved it until the DXpedition was over, and we were cleaning up and taking antennas down and packing things up. And that took a couple of days, and each day we would have a beer then after we got done, but boy, was that good. Okay, here's me working late at night. I'm working CW. You can tell by the microphone up here, the key right there, and that little thing on my hat is this little puppy right here. The battery's dead now. But anyway, this lights up, and this very dark there. There's no ambient light or anything, or moonlight or anything getting through the palm trees, so it's very, very dark walking back and forth between the shack and the living quarters. Next slide. Here we all are. When the beer got there, we're toasting. In fact, this was the day that we all found out that Bob Heil had passed, and also Bob Alphen, 2 giants in the DX community. Both passed away really within days of one another, and it was a very sad occasion. So we toasted and had a moment of silence for both Bob Alphen and Bob Heil. Here's some of our stuff packed back up to leave. Some of it is in boxes, and he has a warehouse to keep it in. And there was about 30 of these totes loaded with equipment, amplifiers, radios, coax cable, and antenna parts and stuff from DX Engineering. Okay, here we are going to visit the next island. This fellow back here getting ready to get the motor started and push the boat out. He's the chief of the island of Nandeli, which is the island you could see there when the tide went in and out. So we went over there for the day, and they gave us a tour of the village. This is the village. No lights, no heat. They collect rainwater like we do. They fish every single day for their food. They have pigs and chickens on the island, and then they fish. And then they have like fruits in the trees and stuff. These are the kids. Notice the soccer ball. It's always hanging around with one or more of these kids, always hanging on to it. Next slide. There we go again. There's the soccer ball again. That's Dr. Bruce. This is their church, a very, very modest church. I think I have a picture of the inside of it. Next slide, please. There's the inside. Sand floor, wooden benches, but it's their church. Next. Okay, this has a video on it, and it'll take a few seconds for the audio to get going, but these things here are pieces of PVC pipe that these kids have found and cut it to different lengths, and they've made it into instruments to make music. Go ahead and see if we can play this video. They're getting ready here. It'll take a few minutes. And then while they play, all these kids in the background into a song. Recorded this and play this pretty soon at a church. Special music. Yeah. We thought that was probably the coolest part of the whole trip. We really did. Now notice I was talking about that soccer ball, and you could see it was pretty rank, pretty beat up and patched and everything. So we asked the chief, can we get some soccer balls for the kids? And he said, oh yeah, we could use a couple of them. That's the only one they have on the whole island. There's like 300 kids. So we went back, and Rob Van Fant and Bruce and everybody on the team pitched in, and we bought them 10 new soccer balls and 2 hand pumps. And we had somebody in Solomon send them back on the next plane the following week. And we told him, take this big marker and put our call sign, H40 Whiskey Alpha, on one side of the ball, and then put these on the other side. Hopefully we'll get some photos back from the fellow that owns the island and have pictures of it. Next, go on. Next. Here's their cemetery. None of the gravestones had dates or names on them, but they know who they are. And this is the tribal chief taking us to the airport. The first 2 times we went over to that airport, the flight was canceled. And they probably told you that story, right, Tim? And we went over, the tide was in, we got there, but then we had to walk across the lagoon that was about knee-deep in water. And Jay, K4ZLE from Cincinnati, he had a laceration on his shin, and he got a horrible, horrible infection, almost to the fact that we were trying to get through to get medevac, because we all paid for medical evacuation insurance. Well, the doctor took pictures of it and sent it back to stateside to a dermatologist doctor friend of his. And he said, this is what it is, and it's the worst thing you can get in salt water. And if you only had this antibiotic, he'd be fine. Well, the doctor had that antibiotic in his bag. So, kind of saved his life, actually. He was very, very sick for a few days. We were really worried about him. Anyway, go ahead, next. Okay, now I'm going to go through the team real quick. This is one of the team leaders, Paul, N6PSE. Me and Paul have been friends for many, many years. Go ahead. This is Rob Van Fant, the other team leader. He's from Washington. Keep going. This is Scott. He's from Wisconsin. And this is Big J, AC7DC. He got that call sign because he's a electrical engineer. And this is Jay, K4ZLE from Cincinnati. And of course, there's yours truly. And this is Dr. Bruce Byrne from San Francisco. Funny thing about it, he was flying over from San Francisco. He flew to Honolulu, missed his connecting flight. They flew him to Tokyo, and from Tokyo to Brisbane, from Brisbane, Australia to Sydney, and from Sydney back to Fiji, and then from Fiji to the Solomons. So he had a real tough time getting there. Next. This is Dave. Now, we only saw Dave at a distance. He got COVID on the flight over there. So he showed up at the hotel, stayed about 50 feet away from us, and left on the next plane and went back to his home. But he's okay. So this is Pigeon Island, and this is our goodbye to Pigeon Island. And I hope I never go there again, really. But basically, it was a success. We made over 60,000 contacts. And I did have a CUSO with Father Mike here, and he says, "Hey, this is Father Mike. Say hi to Don for me." I says, "I will. He's sitting right here." And he didn't realize he was talking to me. So that was pretty cool. So any questions or comment? Yes. Okay, the question is, did they speak English? Not very well. A few of them did, a little bit. The language they speak over there is Pidgin, P-I-J-I-N, Pidgin. And some of them could understand and speak a little bit of English. And of course, the owner of the island, he was from New Zealand, so he was perfectly good in English. Any more? Yes. Mm-hmm. No. It's the question is the gear permanently stored there? No, it is not. It was all packed up, and we've heard that it has been shipped to Brisbane, Australia, on a barge. And once it gets there, it'll be air freighted and come back to San Francisco, and it'll be stored back there. So, yes. The airport. Yes, the question is, did we go by boat to this island from the airport? Yes, that's true. The island was only a few miles over where the airport was, and it was just a grass and mud strip. And then we got on those little boats. You can see how small the boats are. And they actually take people in those little tiny boats with a 30 horsepower outboard motor, 40 miles across open ocean to the island of Lom Lom. And they get food and bring stuff back. There's no stores there on any of these islands. So, and they have no navigational equipment except for a compass. And there's no way to get out of the rain or the sun. And these boats have been known to disappear with all the people on them. So we never tried that route. No way. Any more last questions? Well, thank you for letting me present this. And if you're any of you in another club and you'd like me to come to another club, just get a hold of me, N6JRL@AOL.com. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Don. Outstanding presentation. We're glad you're back safe. I mean, that's the biggest thing about when you see these little boats and you hear these stories and you hear about infections and, you've only got one doctor. That can be a problem too. Corey, can you turn on the lights back there, please? And, okay, again, thank you, Don. We're glad you're back. And it was a real joy to have you present to the Mercer County Amateur Radio Club. Sandy, I'll bet you're glad he's back too. You'll never know. All those bug bites. Right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. There we go. And there's Father Mike sitting up at Pymatuming, you know, talking to Don. And Don's, you know, he's got one hand on the radio, one hand he's itching. You know? So it's just, I'm itchy just thinking about it. But, you know, we forget when you guys go on these DXpeditions just how tough it is. And thankfully, I mean, I know, you know, and Rob talked a lot about the fact you're sweating and you're just wet all the time. And, but it's better than being cold. These guys that go down south in the Peter One, yeah, or Bouvet and things like that. But again, thanks very much. I hope you all had a fun time watching this here today. And for those of you who are traveling to the Dayton Hamvention, please travel safe because our meeting will occur the Tuesday after Hamvention. So I hope to see all of you that are going